The evening crowd had finally thinned when Kevin Grant began wiping down his food cart. The Galactic Trade Station's market district hummed with its usual mix of alien languages and ship engines, but Kevin had learned to tune it out. He stacked empty containers and cleaned his cooking surfaces with practiced efficiency. Another day, another modest profit. Nothing special but enough to keep him fed and his cart running. The crash came without warning. A small shape slammed into the side of his cart with enough force to rattle every pot and pan. Kevin stumbled backward, catching himself against the counter. Steam hissed from a knocked-over kettle. His carefully organized spices scattered across the floor in a rainbow of colors and scents. "What the—" Kevin started, but the words died in his throat. A dragon lay sprawled among the wreckage of his condiment display. Not a full-grown dragon like the massive creatures Kevin sometimes saw boarding luxury ships. This one was small, barely larger than a big dog, with scales that shimmered between copper and gold. Its wings twitched weakly. Its chest heaved with desperate breaths. Kevin had lived on the station for 3 years. He had served food to dozens of alien species. But he had never seen a dragon up close. Everyone knew dragons kept to themselves. They lived in their own quarter of the station. They did not mix with other species. They certainly did not throw themselves at human food carts. "Please." The word came out as a rasp. The dragon lifted its head and Kevin saw eyes filled with raw panic. "Please, you have to help me." Kevin knelt down slowly, hands raised. "Hey, it's okay. Are you hurt? What happened?" "Not me." The dragon struggled to its feet, swaying. Up close, Kevin could see it was young. Maybe equivalent to a human teenager. "My brother. He's dying. The healers can't help him. Nobody can help him. Please." The dragon's voice cracked on the last word. Kevin felt something twist in his chest. He had a younger sister back on Earth. He knew that sound. That was the sound of someone watching their family slip away. "Slow down," Kevin said gently. "Tell me what happened." "My brother Cinder. He ate something. I don't know what. He was exploring the lower market, trying new foods." The dragon's words tumbled out in a rush. "He came home sick. Then he got worse. The healers gave him medicines but nothing works. They don't know what's wrong. They can't identify the poison. He's been unconscious for hours and his scales are turning gray and I don't know what to do." Kevin's mind raced. "Why come to me? I'm just a cook." "Because you're human." The dragon looked at him with desperate hope. "Everyone knows humans are the tasting species. You can eat almost anything. You can identify thousands of flavors. Your people traveled your whole world just to find new foods. The healers said if we can't identify what poisoned him, we can't cure him. You're his only chance." Kevin had heard that before. Other aliens found it strange how humans obsessed over food. Most species ate for fuel, for necessity. But humans had turned eating into art, into science, into culture. They combined flavors in ways that seemed crazy to other species. They could detect subtle differences that other tongues missed. He looked at the young dragon. At the fear in those eyes. At the way its wings trembled. "How long does he have?" The healers said maybe until morning. Maybe less. The dragon's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please. I know dragons aren't supposed to ask other species for help. I know it's shameful. But he's my brother. He's only 8 cycles old. He's just a kid." Kevin stood up. He grabbed his emergency supply kit from under the cart. It held his most important tools and ingredients. Things he might need if he had to cook somewhere without his full setup. "Show me where he is." The dragon's head snapped up. "You'll come? You'll help?" "I'll try." Kevin locked his cart's security panel. "I can't promise anything. But I'll try." "Thank you." The dragon's whole body sagged with relief. "Thank you. My name is Flare." "Kevin." He shouldered his pack. "Lead the way." Flare launched into the air. Kevin followed on foot, jogging to keep up as the dragon flew low through the market district. Other aliens stopped and stared. A human following a dragon was unusual enough to draw attention. Kevin ignored them. He focused on keeping Flare in sight as they moved through the station's corridors. The Dragon Quarter occupied the upper east section of the station. Kevin had never been there before. Few non-dragons had. As they approached, he noticed the temperature rising. Dragons liked it warm. The corridors here had high ceilings and wider spaces. Everything was built on a larger scale. Flare led him through an archway decorated with carved metal flames. Inside was a dwelling that looked like a cave made of polished stone. Heat radiated from vents in the walls. The air smelled of sulfur and cinnamon. A larger dragon blocked their path. This one was full-grown, with deep red scales and eyes that blazed with anger. Flare, what is this? The older dragon's voice rumbled like distant thunder. You brought a human here? To our home? Have you lost your mind? Father, please? Get out. The father dragon turned his glare on Kevin. Leave. Now. Kevin held his ground. Your son asked me to help. I'm here to try to save Cinder. We don't need alien help. Especially not from humans. The dragon's nostrils flared. Our healers are working. They will find a cure. They've had hours, Flare said desperately. Cinder is getting worse. His breathing is shallow. His color is fading. You saw him, father. He doesn't have much time. So you shame our entire family by bringing in an outsider? The father dragon spread his wings, making himself larger. Do you know what the council will say? What the other families will think? I don't care. Flare's voice rose to a shout. I don't care about shame or honor or what anyone thinks. Cinder is dying. If this human can save him, nothing else matters. Silence fell. Father and son stared at each other. Kevin could feel the heat in the room intensifying. He wondered if dragon anger literally raised the temperature. Finally, a third voice spoke. Let him through. An elderly dragon emerged from a back chamber. Her scales were pale silver, and she moved with slow dignity. I am Elder Smoke, chief healer of this family. If you can help human, then help. Pride means nothing if the child dies. The father dragon growled but stepped aside. Flare immediately darted forward, and Kevin followed him into the inner chamber. The young dragon lying on a stone platform barely looked alive. His scales, which should have been bright and glossy, had turned dull and gray. His breathing came in shallow, irregular gasps. Two other dragon healers stood nearby, mixing compounds in stone bowls. Kevin approached carefully. He set down his pack and looked at Elder Smoke. May I examine him? She nodded. Do what you must. Kevin moved to Cinder's side. He had no medical training, not really, but he understood food, ingredients, and reactions. He knew what happened when certain compounds mixed. He knew how toxins worked. He leaned close and sniffed. There was a faint sweetness, almost floral. Something citrus underneath. And something else, something sharp and bitter that made his nose wrinkle. Tell me everything, Kevin said to Flare. Where did he go? What did he eat? When did symptoms start? Flare swallowed hard. He went to the lower market this morning. He likes trying new foods from different worlds. He thinks it's exciting. He was gone maybe 2 hours. When he came back, he said his stomach hurt. Then he started vomiting. Then he collapsed. Kevin examined Cinder's snout. There were faint traces of powder there, caught in the tiny scales around his nostrils. He carefully collected some on his finger and brought it close to his nose. 3 distinct scents. Carvash flower, which was sweet and harmless to most species. Citrus oil from Terran lemons. And something else, something that smelled like burnt metal. His mind worked through possibilities. Individually, none of those should be toxic. But together? Some combinations created new compounds. New reactions. Things that could be deadly to certain biologies. I need my cart, Kevin said suddenly. I need specific ingredients. Earth plants. I can fly you, Flare said immediately. It'll be faster than walking. Kevin looked at the young dragon, then at Cinder lying unconscious on the stone platform. Time was running out. Every minute mattered. Let's go, Kevin said. Right now. Kevin knelt beside Cinder's still form and examined the traces of powder more closely. He touched a tiny amount to his tongue, then immediately spat it out. The flavor exploded across his taste buds in a way that made his eyes water. Sweet, citrus, and something metallic that made his mouth tingle painfully. What is it? Elder Smoke asked. Can you identify the poison? I think so. Kevin wiped his mouth. It's not one poison. It's 3 ingredients that shouldn't be eaten together. Separately they're harmless. But when they mix inside the body they create something new. Something toxic. He pointed to the powder traces on Cinder's snout. This is Carvash flower. Vendors sell it as a sweet spice. Very popular with tourists. Then there's citrus oil, probably from lemon pastries. And this third one. He sniffed again. Metallic dust. Maybe from Zentari spice bread. Elder Smoke's eyes widened. All 3 are sold in the lower market. All 3 are safe for most species to eat. But not together. Not for dragons. Kevin stood up. Your biology runs hot. Your internal temperature is much higher than most species. When these 3 compounds mix in high heat, they create a crystalline structure. It forms in the blood. Blocks oxygen flow. Shuts down organs. Flare made a choking sound. Can you stop it? Can you save him? Maybe. I need to create something that will break down those crystals. Dissolve them before they cause permanent damage. Kevin's mind raced through chemical combinations. I have ingredients at my cart. Earth plants that can bind to the crystals and neutralize them. But I need to get them now. How long does he have? The father dragon demanded. Kevin looked at Cinder. The young dragon's breathing had become even more shallow. His chest barely rose and fell. Hours? Maybe less. The crystals are still forming. Once they completely block blood flow to his brain or heart, there's nothing I can do. Then go, Elder Smoke said firmly. Flare, take him. Fly fast. The father dragon started to protest, but Elder Smoke silenced him with a look. Your pride or your son's life? Choose now. Flare was already moving toward the entrance. Kevin grabbed his pack and followed. They emerged into the corridor outside and Flare crouched low. Get on my back, the young dragon said. Hold tight. Kevin had never ridden a dragon before. He had never even imagined it. But he climbed onto Flare's back, gripping the ridge of scales along the dragon's spine. The scales were warm under his hands, almost hot. Ready? Flare asked. Ready. Flare launched into the air with a powerful thrust of his wings. Kevin's stomach dropped as they shot upward. The corridor blurred past them. Wind whipped Kevin's hair back. He pressed himself flat against Flare's back and held on for dear life. They burst out of the dragon quarter and into the main station corridors. Flare flew low and fast, weaving between startled aliens. A Zentari merchant shouted in alarm as they zoomed past his stall. A group of hivelings scattered in all directions. Sorry. Kevin called back, though his voice was lost in the wind. Flare's wings beat with desperate speed. Kevin could feel the dragon's muscles bunching and releasing beneath him. Could feel the heat radiating from Flare's body. The young dragon was pushing himself to his absolute limit. They descended toward the market district. Kevin's cart came into view, still locked and waiting where he had left it. Flare landed hard, skidding slightly on the smooth station floor. Kevin slid off his back, his legs shaky. What do you need? Flare asked, breathing hard. Kevin unlocked his cart and began pulling out containers. Ginger root, activated charcoal, raw honey, and turmeric powder. His hands moved quickly, gathering ingredients. These can break down crystalline structures in biological systems. Humans have used them for thousands of years to treat poisoning. He worked as he talked, measuring and mixing. Flare watched intently, his golden eyes tracking every movement. Will it work on dragon biology? Flare asked quietly. I don't know, Kevin admitted, but it's the best chance we have. These ingredients are gentle enough that they shouldn't cause more harm even if they don't help. And the chemical properties should work the same regardless of species. He ground the ginger into a paste, added charcoal powder, then mixed in honey and turmeric. The result was a thick, dark paste that smelled sharp and medicinal. This needs to be administered carefully, Kevin said, sealing the mixture in a container. A little at a time. I'll need to watch his response and adjust the dosage. Flare nodded, but Kevin could see the dragon's claws digging into the ground. See the way his wings trembled slightly. He's going to make it, Kevin said firmly. We're going to save him. You don't know that. Flare's voice cracked. You can't promise that. Kevin paused in his packing. He looked at the young dragon's face and saw raw fear there. Not just fear. Guilt. This is my fault, Flare whispered. I'm supposed to watch him. I'm his older brother. He wanted to explore the market and I said no because I wanted to practice flying. I told him to stay home. But he snuck out anyway and I didn't notice until he came back sick. This isn't your fault, Kevin said. I should have gone with him. I should have watched what he ate. I should have. You can't watch him every second. Kevin moved closer, his voice gentle. Brothers aren't meant to be guards. You're not responsible for every choice he makes. But he's so young. He doesn't understand danger yet. He thinks everything is an adventure. Flare's voice broke completely. He's always getting into trouble. Always curious about everything. He asks a million questions. He drives everyone crazy. But he's my little brother. I'm supposed to protect him. Kevin thought about his own sister. About the time she had gotten hurt or sick when they were kids. About the crushing guilt he had felt even when it wasn't his fault. The best thing you can do for him now is help me get back there fast, Kevin said. We're wasting time. Flare straightened immediately. You're right. Get on. Kevin climbed back onto the dragon's back, holding the container of medicine carefully. Flare took off again, this time even faster than before. They shot through the corridors like a copper and gold missile. Tell me about him, Kevin said over the wind. About Cinder. What? Flair's voice was confused. Tell me about your brother. What's he like? For a moment, Flair didn't answer. Then his voice came softer. He's annoying. He never stops talking. He wants to know how everything works, why the station spins, where all the aliens come from, what their worlds are like. Kevin smiled despite the circumstances. Sounds like a good kid. He is. He makes friends with everyone, even species that most dragons avoid. He doesn't see differences the way others do. He just sees people. Flair's wings beat harder. Last week he brought home a skitter. You know, one of those bug-like species? Our father almost had a heart attack. But Cinder didn't care. He said the skitter was lonely and needed someone to talk to. What happened? The skitter stayed for dinner. Cinder asked it 1,000 questions about hive life. By the end of the night, even father was laughing at his stories. Flair's voice grew thick. That's just who Cinder is. He makes everything brighter. Makes everyone smile. They were approaching the dragon quarter again. Kevin could see the entrance ahead. Then we're going to make sure he gets to keep doing that, Kevin said. We're going to save him, Flair. Together. Flair didn't answer, but Kevin felt the dragon's muscles tense with new determination. They dove toward the entrance and shot inside. The flight back felt both longer and shorter than the first trip. Every second counted. Every heartbeat mattered. Kevin held the medicine container against his chest and prayed to whatever gods might be listening that he wasn't too late. They landed outside Cinder's chamber. Kevin slid off Flair's back and they rushed inside together. Cinder looked worse. His scales had turned almost completely gray. His breathing was so shallow that Kevin could barely see his chest moving. We're back, Kevin announced. I have the treatment. Let's get started. Elder Smoke stepped aside. The other healers watched with expressions Kevin couldn't read. The father dragon stood in the corner, silent now, his eyes fixed on his youngest son. Kevin knelt beside Cinder and opened the container. The sharp smell of ginger filled the air. Please work, Flair whispered beside him. Please, please work. Kevin didn't answer. He had work to do. Kevin carefully measured a small amount of the dark paste onto his finger. The mixture smelled strong, medicinal. He could feel every dragon in the room watching his every move. The weight of their stares pressed down on his shoulders like a physical thing. How do we know this won't make him worse? One of the dragon healers asked. She was older, with deep blue scales that caught the light. We have never used these earth substances before. Dragon biology is different from human biology. The chemical properties are universal, Kevin explained. He kept his voice calm and steady even though his heart was racing. Activated charcoal binds to toxins. Ginger reduces inflammation and helps break down crystalline formations. Honey carries the other ingredients through the bloodstream and provides energy for healing. These aren't dragon remedies or human remedies. They're just chemistry. Elder Smoke nodded slowly. Proceed. But carefully. Kevin lifted Cinder's head gently. The young dragon's scales felt cool to the touch. Too cool. Dragons were supposed to run hot. This was a bad sign. He carefully opened Cinder's mouth and placed a tiny amount of paste on his tongue. Now we wait, Kevin said. The charcoal needs time to bind to the crystals. The ginger needs time to work. How long? Flair asked desperately. I don't know. Could be minutes. Could be hours. Kevin settled himself on the floor beside the stone platform. We watch. We wait. We adjust the treatment based on his response. The father dragon made a sound of frustration. This is madness. We should be using proper dragon medicine. Proper dragon healing methods. With respect, Kevin said quietly, your proper methods haven't worked. Cinder is dying. We're trying something different because we have no other choice. Silence fell. Kevin pulled out a small notebook from his pack and began writing observations. Cinder's breathing rate. The color of his scales. The temperature of his skin. Every detail mattered. Every change could mean something. Minutes passed like hours. Kevin administered another small dose of the paste. Then another. He watched for any sign of change, any hint that the treatment was working. Tell me more about him, Kevin said to Flair. The young dragon had been pacing back and forth, his claws clicking against the stone floor. You said he asks a lot of questions. What kind of questions? Flair stopped pacing. He looked at his brother's still form. Everything. Anything. Last month he wanted to know why stars shine. I told him they're just balls of burning gas. He asked what gas tastes like. I said it doesn't taste like anything because you can't eat gas. He said, "How do I know if I've never tried?" Despite the tension, Kevin smiled slightly. "Sounds like he keeps you on your toes." "Always." Flair settled down beside Kevin. 2 weeks ago he discovered rain. You know, water falling from the sky? We don't have that on our home world. He saw it on a video feed from Earth. Spent 3 days trying to figure out how to make it rain inside our quarters. Flooded 2 rooms before Father made him stop. One of the other healers made a sound that might have been a laugh. Even Elder Smoke's eyes crinkled with amusement. "He sounds wonderful," Kevin said softly. He administered another dose of paste. This time he thought he saw a flicker of movement in Cinder's eyelids. Just a tiny twitch, but it was something. "He is." Flair's voice grew thick. "He's the best of all of us. He doesn't care about tradition or what he's supposed to do or how dragons are supposed to act. He just wants to learn everything and meet everyone and experience everything the galaxy has to offer." Kevin checked Cinder's breathing. It seemed slightly stronger. Not much, but slightly. He made a note in his book. 3 months ago he decided he wanted to learn to cook, Flair continued. "Dragons don't cook. We eat our food raw or we burn it with our fire breath." But Cinder said that was boring. He said if other species can make food taste interesting, why can't dragons? He snuck into a Terran restaurant and watched the chef work for hours. "Did he learn anything?" Kevin asked, carefully monitoring Cinder's vital signs. "He learned that cooking is harder than it looks. He came home and tried to make something called a cake. Set the kitchen on fire. Then he cried because he failed." Flair's voice cracked. "I held him while he cried and told him it was okay to fail. That trying was what mattered. He looked up at me and said he was going to try again tomorrow. That's just who he is. He never gives up." Kevin administered another dose. He thought he saw more color in Cinder's scales. Just a hint, a barely visible shimmer of copper beginning to return. The hours crawled by. Kevin kept up a steady rhythm of treatment and observation. He adjusted the mixture slightly, adding a bit more honey when Cinder's energy seemed too low, more charcoal when the crystalline formation seemed to be spreading. Other dragons came and went from the chamber. Word had spread through the dragon quarter that a human was treating one of their young. Some came to watch with open skepticism. Others came with curiosity. All of them stayed quiet watching Kevin work. Flair kept talking. He told stories about Cinder sneaking treats to younger dragons. About Cinder defending a smaller dragon from bullies. About Cinder finding a lost alien child in the market and spending hours helping them find their parents. "He has this way of seeing the good in everyone," Flair said as the night wore on. "Even people who don't deserve it. Even people who are mean to him. He just believes everyone is worth knowing. Worth understanding." Kevin listened while his hands stayed busy. He had been awake for almost 20 hours now. His eyes burned with fatigue. His back ached from sitting on the hard stone floor. But he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Around what Kevin guessed was 3 in the morning by station time, something changed. Cinder took a deeper breath. Then another. The gray color of his scales began to shift, just slightly toward a healthier tone. "Look," Elder Smoke said quietly. "His color is returning." Everyone in the room moved closer. Kevin checked Cinder's pulse, his breathing, his temperature. Everything was improving. Slowly but definitely improving. "The crystals are breaking down," Kevin said. He couldn't keep the relief out of his voice. "The treatment is working." Flair made a sound between a sob and a laugh. "He's going to be okay?" "He's not out of danger yet," Kevin cautioned. "But he's past the worst of it. His body is responding. The crystals are dissolving. He just needs time now." The father dragon stepped forward. His expression was hard to read. "You saved him. A human saved my son." "We saved him," Kevin corrected gently. "Flair came to find me. You let me try." Elder Smoke trusted the treatment. "We all did this together." As dawn light began to filter into the chamber through high windows, Cinder's scales had regained most of their shimmer. His breathing was steady and strong. His body temperature had risen back to normal dragon warmth. Kevin administered one final dose of the paste and sat back. He should wake up in the next few hours. When he does, he'll be weak. He'll need simple foods and plenty of water. But he's going to recover fully. Elder Smoke placed a clawed hand on Kevin's shoulder. "You have our gratitude, human. You have done what our healers could not." Other dragons were gathering now. Word had spread that Cinder was recovering. They filled the chamber and spilled out into the corridor, all wanting to see the miracle with their own eyes. A human had saved a dragon. It was unprecedented. It was impossible. But it was happening right in front of them. Flair pressed his forehead against Cinder's, his whole body shaking with relief. "Thank you," he whispered to Kevin. "Thank you for giving me my brother back." Kevin smiled tiredly. "You're welcome. Now I need to teach him what not to eat." A ripple of laughter went through the gathered dragons. The tension that had filled the chamber for hours finally broke. Cinder was going to live. A human's knowledge, a human's skill with food and chemistry, had saved a dragon's life. Kevin looked at the young dragon sleeping peacefully on the stone platform and felt something settle in his chest. This was why he had come to the stars. Not for glory or adventure, but for moments like this. For the chance to help. For the chance to make a difference. Cinder's eyelids fluttered. Then slowly, very slowly they opened. Cinder's first words were weak but clear. "Why do I smell like dirt and flowers?" Kevin laughed despite his exhaustion. The young dragon was lying on the stone platform, blinking slowly at the ceiling. His copper scales still looked dull, but the life had returned to his golden eyes. "That's ginger and honey," Kevin explained. "They saved your life." Cinder turned his head slowly to look at Kevin. "You're a human. I've never seen a human this close before. You're smaller than I thought you'd be. And you're more talkative than I expected for someone who almost died," Kevin replied with a smile. "Cinder?" Flair pushed forward and nuzzled his brother carefully. "How do you feel?" "Tired. And hungry. And my stomach hurts." Cinder looked around at all the dragons crowding the chamber. "Why is everyone staring at me? Did I do something wrong?" "You ate something poisonous," Elder Smoke said gently. "This human, Kevin, saved your life." Cinder's eyes went wide. He looked at Kevin with new interest. "Really? How?" "I'll explain everything," Kevin said. "But first you need to rest. And when you're strong enough, you need to eat something very simple and very bland." Cinder made a face. "Bland sounds boring." "Bland keeps you alive," Kevin countered. "Which is kind of important." Over the next week, Kevin visited the dragon quarter every day. He brought simple broths made from vegetables and rice. He brought plain cooked grains. He brought gentle herbal teas that would help Cinder's body finish healing. And Cinder asked questions. Endless questions. "Why does this taste different from that?" he would ask, comparing two nearly identical broths. "What happens if you cook vegetables longer? Why do humans use so many spices? What's your favorite food? Can you teach me to cook?" Kevin answered every question patiently. He found himself enjoying the young dragon's curiosity. Cinder reminded him of students he had taught back on Earth, before he came to the station. That same eager hunger to learn everything at once. "Food is chemistry," Kevin explained one afternoon. He had brought a simple vegetable soup and was showing Cinder how the ingredients work together. When you heat things up, you change their structure. You make new flavors. You make things easier to digest. "But dragons can eat raw meat," Cinder pointed out. "We have strong stomachs." "Strong but not invincible," Kevin said. "As you learn the hard way. Your stomach might be able to handle raw meat, but it can't handle certain combinations of ingredients. That's why you need to understand what you're eating." Cinder absorbed this seriously. "Will you teach me? About food and what's safe and what's not?" "That's why I'm here," Kevin said. Flair started visiting Kevin's cart every evening. At first he came alone, curious about human food. Kevin made him simple dishes, explaining each ingredient and its purpose. Flair discovered he loved earth noodles. Something about the texture fascinated him. "This is amazing," Flair said, carefully manipulating chopsticks with his claws. "How do you make them?" Kevin showed him the process of mixing flour and water, kneading dough, cutting it into strips. Flair watched with intense concentration, asking questions about every step. The next evening, Flair brought a friend. A younger dragon named Spark who was nervous about trying alien food but curious enough to overcome his fear. Kevin made them both a mild curry with rice. "It's spicy," Spark said, surprised. "But good spicy. Not bad spicy." "That's the difference between flavor and danger," Kevin explained. "Spicy can mean exciting or it can mean poisonous. You have to know which is which." Word spread through the dragon community. A human who understood food chemistry had saved a dragon's life. A human who could make food taste incredible. A human who was willing to teach anyone who asked. More dragons started coming to Kevin's cart. At first just one or two at a time. Then groups. Then crowds. Other aliens noticed. If dragons were eating at a human's food cart, it must be something special. Dragons were notoriously proud and selective. They didn't waste time on inferior things. Kevin's modest cart became the busiest food stall in the market district. Aliens of every species lined up to try his cooking. Some came for the food. Others came just to see dragons and other species eating side by side, talking and laughing together. Kevin worked 18-hour days trying to keep up with demand. He ran out of ingredients constantly. His cooking surfaces were never clean because there was always another order to prepare. His hands developed calluses from constant chopping and stirring. But he loved it. Every satisfied customer felt like a small victory. Every new species that tried his food felt like building another bridge. One evening, Elder Smoke appeared at his cart with the full Dragon Elder Council. Kevin's current customers immediately made space, backing away respectfully. "Kevin Grant," Elder Smoke said formally, "the dragon community wishes to honor you for saving young Cinder's life. We have prepared compensation worthy of such a deed." She gestured, and another dragon came forward carrying a chest. When it opened, Kevin saw gleaming credit chips inside. Enough money to buy his own ship. Maybe enough to return to Earth in comfort. Kevin looked at the chest. Then at his overcrowded cart. Then at Flair, who stood at the edge of the crowd with several dragon friends, waiting for their evening noodles. "Thank you," Kevin said slowly. "But I don't want payment." The Elder Council looked surprised. "You refuse our honor?" one of them asked. "No, I refuse money," Kevin clarified. "But I do want something else. Something that would help me serve your community better." Elder Smoke's eyes narrowed with interest. "Name it." Kevin turned to Flair. "I want help expanding this cart into a real restaurant. A place where dragons and other species can eat together. Where I can teach anyone who wants to learn about food and cooking and staying safe. And I want Flair as my partner in building it." The crowd went silent. Dragons didn't partner with other species on business ventures. It simply wasn't done. Flair's eyes went wide. "Me? You want me to help run a restaurant? You've been eating at my cart every night for 2 weeks, Kevin pointed out. "You ask good questions. You understand flavors. You care about the food and the people eating it. And you can fly, which means you can get ingredients from anywhere in the station quickly." "I don't know anything about running a restaurant," Flair protested. "Neither did I when I started this cart," Kevin said. "We'll learn together." The Dragon Elder Council looked at each other. This was unprecedented. A human asking a dragon to join him in business. A dragon potentially agreeing. "This is highly unusual," Elder Smoke said finally. "What say you, young Flair? Will you accept this human's offer?" Flair looked at Kevin. Then at the cart surrounded by hungry customers of a dozen different species. Then at his dragon friends waiting patiently in line. "Yes," Flair said. "I'll do it." A murmur went through the crowd. Some dragons looked shocked. Others looked intrigued. The non-dragon customers looked excited. "Then it is decided," Elder Smoke said. "The dragon community will provide materials and resources for this restaurant. But know this, Kevin Grant. You are binding yourself to our people. We do not forget those who help us. But we also do not tolerate those who betray our trust." "Understood," Kevin said. Elder Smoke's stern expression softened slightly. "Cinder asks about you constantly. He says you promised to teach him to cook properly. He's driving his parents mad with questions about food chemistry." Kevin smiled. "Tell him I'll bring more lessons tomorrow. And tell him I'm going to need a taste tester for the new restaurant. Someone with a curious tongue and a brave spirit." "He will be insufferable with pride," Elder Smoke said, but Kevin could hear the warmth in her voice. As the Elder Council left, Flair moved to Kevin's side. "A real restaurant? Do you really think we can do this?" "I think we just saved a kid's life using ginger and honey," Kevin replied. "Building a restaurant should be easy compared to that." Flair laughed, bright and genuine. Around them, the evening crowd pressed closer, placing orders, asking questions, filling the air with a dozen languages and the smell of cooking food. Kevin grabbed his spatula and got back to work. Beside him, Flair began taking orders, his voice confident and warm as he explained the menu to curious customers. The future was taking shape. One meal at a time. The construction took 3 weeks. Kevin had never seen anything built so quickly. Dragons worked with a precision and power that amazed him. They shaped metal with their fire breath, heating beams until they could be bent into perfect curves. They polished stone until it gleamed like glass. They carved intricate patterns into walls that caught and reflected light in beautiful ways. Flair's father, who had been so hostile that first night, turned out to be a master craftsman. He designed the kitchen layout with both dragon and human needs in mind. High ceilings for dragons to move comfortably. Lower counters where Kevin could work. Ventilation systems that could handle both dragon fire and human cooking methods. "Here," The father dragon said one afternoon, showing Kevin a special stove he had created. This uses controlled dragon fire. Hot enough to sear meat in seconds. Cool enough that you won't burn yourself. Watch. He demonstrated, breathing a precise stream of flame into a chamber beneath a cooking surface. The metal heated instantly to exactly the temperature Kevin needed. That's incredible, Kevin said. Can you teach me to control it? It responds to these controls. Flair's father showed him a series of levers and dials. But it takes practice. The fire is alive in a way. You have to learn its personality. They spent hours working together, Kevin learning the new equipment while Flair's father learned about human cooking techniques. The older dragon mellowed as he worked. Kevin realized the hostility had never been about him personally. It had been about fear. Fear of losing his son. Fear of looking weak. Fear of change. I judged you unfairly, Flair's father said one evening as they cleaned the kitchen. You saved my son when I could not. That is a debt I can never repay. You already are repaying it, Kevin said, gesturing at the beautiful kitchen around them. This is more than I ever dreamed of having. Cinder appointed himself official taste tester the day the kitchen was functional. He showed up every morning, eager and curious, ready to try whatever Kevin was developing. What's this one? Cinder asked, sniffing a sauce Kevin had been working on. Terran barbecue sauce. Sweet, tangy with a little bit of heat. Kevin offered him a small spoonful. Cinder tasted it carefully, his eyes closing as he considered the flavors. The sweetness comes first, then the tang. Then the heat builds slowly. It's like a story told by taste. Kevin blinked. That's exactly right. How did you know that? You taught me to pay attention, Cinder said proudly. To notice how flavors change and develop. This is good, but it needs something. Something to make the heat last longer. Like what? Maybe that earth pepper you showed me last week? The small red one? Kevin added a pinch of cayenne to the sauce. Cinder tasted it again and his whole face lit up. Yes. That's perfect now. Word about the restaurant spread before it even opened. A human and dragons working together. Creating fusion cuisine that blended earth traditions with dragon fire techniques. It was unprecedented. It was exciting. It was something new in a galaxy that sometimes felt very old. The opening night drew a crowd that wrapped around the building. Kevin had planned for maybe 50 customers. 300 showed up. Every species represented on the station seemed to have sent someone. Kevin and Flair worked side by side in the kitchen. Kevin prepared ingredients and created sauces. Flair used his fire breath to sear meat and vegetables at temperatures no earth stove could match. They moved together with a rhythm they had developed over weeks of practice. Cinder greeted customers at the door, his enthusiasm infectious. Welcome. Have you tried dragon-seared vegetables? They're my favorite. The human makes this sauce that tastes like sunshine and heat together. The restaurant became famous within days. Not just for the food, though the food was exceptional, but for what it represented. Dragons and humans working together. Creating something neither could make alone. The dragon fire brought intensity and speed. The human knowledge brought subtlety and balance. A month after opening, a Zentari merchant approached Kevin during the dinner rush. She looked nervous, her multiple arms twisting together. Excuse me, she said quietly. I heard you helped a dragon who was poisoned. That you understand how food can be dangerous. Kevin wiped his hands on his apron. Yes, I've studied food chemistry. Why? My daughter is sick. She ate something at school. The doctors don't know what's wrong. They say her symptoms don't match any known poison. But I think it's something she ate because she got sick right after lunch. Kevin looked at Flair, who nodded. Go. I can handle things here. Kevin followed the Zentari mother to the medical center. Her daughter, a small Zentari child with bright green skin, lay in a medical pod. Her breathing was labored and her skin had turned grayish. Kevin talked to the doctors, examined what the child had eaten and recognized a pattern. It's not poison. It's an allergic reaction. These three foods together create a protein chain that Zentari bodies can't process. Separately they're fine. Together they trigger this response. The doctors looked skeptical, but they had no better answer. Kevin suggested a treatment using earth antihistamines and enzyme supplements. Within hours, the child's color began to return. Word spread again. The human chef who understood food at a molecular level. Who could identify dangerous combinations that even medical scanners missed. Who used cooking knowledge to solve medical mysteries. More people came with questions. A hiveling whose hivemate had mysterious seizures after eating certain foods. A skitter who developed rashes from unknown sources. A human trader whose child had chronic stomach pain that no doctor could explain. Kevin helped them all. Sometimes the answer was simple food allergies. Sometimes it was dangerous combinations that created toxic compounds. Sometimes it was nutritional deficiencies that traditional medicine had missed. He never charged for these consultations. Instead, he taught people what he knew: how to read ingredients, how to understand their own biology, how to recognize when something was wrong. "You're doing more than running a restaurant," Elder Smoke told him one evening. She had become a regular customer, always ordering the spiciest dishes Kevin could create. "You're becoming a bridge between species, using food as the connection." "Food is universal," Kevin said. "Everyone eats. Everyone needs to understand what they're putting in their bodies. It just makes sense to share that knowledge." Cinder bounced over, carrying a plate of experimental dumplings. "Try these. I help make the filling. Kevin taught me how to balance the flavors so the ginger doesn't overpower the vegetables." Elder Smoke tasted one and her eyes widened. "This is excellent. You have talent, young one." Cinder beamed with pride. Kevin felt a warm satisfaction in his chest. This was what he had always wanted. Not just to cook but to teach, to share, to help others understand the beautiful complexity of food. A Galactic Health Council representative showed up during the dinner rush one evening. She was a tall, elegant being from a species Kevin didn't recognize. She watched him work for an hour before approaching. "Kevin Grant," she said formally, "I have a proposal for you." Kevin looked up from the stir-fry he was preparing. "I'm listening." "The council has been tracking your work. The poisoning cases you've solved. The food-related medical mysteries you've unraveled. We believe your unique skills could be valuable on a larger scale." "What do you mean?" "We want to create a rapid response team. Specialists who can identify and counter biological threats related to food and poison. We want you to lead the human contingent." Kevin stopped cooking. Flair, who had been listening nearby, moved closer. "That would mean leaving the station," Kevin said slowly. "Leaving the restaurant. Not permanently. We envision a rotation system. You would respond to emergencies. Train others. Return to your restaurant between missions." The representative smiled. "We're not asking you to give up what you've built here. We're asking you to share it with the galaxy." Kevin looked around his kitchen. At Flair working the Dragonfire stove. At Cinder greeting customers with boundless enthusiasm. At the restaurant they had built together. "Can I think about it?" he asked. "Of course. We'll contact you again in 1 week." After she left, Flair approached Kevin. "You should do it." "What?" "But the restaurant." "We'll be fine," Flair interrupted. "I can run things when you're gone. Cinder can help. Your knowledge shouldn't be limited to one station. People across the galaxy could benefit from what you know." Kevin looked at his young dragon partner and felt a surge of pride. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from a human who saved my brother's life with ginger and honey," Flair said with a smile.